chapter 10, the very first line, and Josephus lets you know that Seleucus the fourth stood up, but he calls him Seleucus Soter instead of Seleucus Philopator. But all throughout the books of history, the successor, the immediate successor of Antiochus the Great was Seleucus the fourth, whose surname was Philopator. So he was the one, when you read in Josephus, Book 12, Antiquities, Book 12, Chapter 10, Paragraph 1, it names him, but in order to find out that he was the raiser of taxes, you have to go to First Maccabees. You got to go to Second Maccabees, Chapter 3 and Chapter 4. The entire chapter, we're going to get there, don't worry, we're going to go there now, because that's what the time is about. It's going to show you why I refer to him as the raiser of taxes. I'm going to tell you, I'm going to explain it first, then we're going to go and read it. All right? Let's go over and I'll explain it. Remember this. I want you to remember this. Seleucus the fourth, whose surname was Philopator, raiser of taxes. All right? And this is when he governed, from 187 BC to 175 BC. You notice I got verse 20 right there, because that's what it's talking about. Read that verse again, verse 20.
Verse 20. Then shall stand up in his estate a raiser of taxes.
Now we're going to go read about the raiser of taxes. So first, I'm going to go to, I hope that's it. Sometimes I get it mixed up. The Josephus, Book 12, Chapter 10. What are we at? 5. That's a little too far. Chapter 10. That's 8. No, this might not be that. Hold on. I'm going to find it. I'm just looking for mine. Yep, that's it. Book 12. Oh, Book 12, Chapter 4, Paragraph 10. Book 12, Chapter 4, which is the next chapter over. Am I reading this right? Right?
Yeah, Book 12, Chapter 4.
Chapter 4. Did I write it wrong there? Book 12, Chapter 4.
Paragraph 10.
Oh, no wonder. Shit, it is. That's paragraph 1. Paragraph 10. There it is. Sometimes it just give, it's a lot of information, man. Anyway, okay. Read that again, verse 20. Daniel chapter 11, verse 20.
Then shall stand up in his
go ahead.
Then shall stand up in his estate.
In other words, in the estate, in the place of Antiochus III, who perished, robbing the temple. Go ahead.
A raiser of taxes.
A raiser of taxes. Now this is a brief line. This is Josephus' Antiquities, Book 12, Chapter 4, Paragraph 10. At the time that Seleucus, who was called Soter, which Josephus recognizes him as Soter, historically, and all of, as a matter of fact, just so that you can see, we ain't making stuff up. Historically, all of the sources will refer. I don't know if you can get this close. I'm gonna put a black mark. So what should I put? A blue mark or a red mark by it? Just to be noted. Recognizes him as Seleucus the fourth Philopator. And you'll see above the name, if you can't, just don't worry about it. I'll just put it on down if it doesn't zoom in. Okay, you see where the lines are. That says Seleucus the fourth Philopator. Now you notice above that it says Antiochus the Great. So there are times when Josephus will get the name right, but he'll put a different surname. Because you'll have, like, for instance, if you can go down to, that's going to be on Ptolemy. Like, for instance, the Ptolemy 8, his name was like Ptolemy over here, Ptolemy 5, it was Ptolemy and Hooters. How do you say the name? Ptolemy Hooters. I don't know how to say the name, but Ptolemy 8 had the same name, and then his alternate surname was Spice Time. And that was who, and we haven't even gotten there yet, but that was who Ptolemy Philometor, Ptolemy 6 joint ruled with him, but that's farther down in this very same chapter. So when it said raiser of taxes, is talking about this. It says, at this time Seleucus, who was called Solon, which we know is Philippine, reigned over Asia, being the son of Antiochus the Great. Now, we're going to go to, I'm going to alternate this so that it don't be too much for you, right? Or for either of us. 2 Maccabees chapter 3. 2 Maccabees chapter 3. And let me say this. It starts off with some wicked Israelites who got into conflict with one of the upright high priests. And so he brought this wrath on us because he wanted the high priesthood. Or he didn't like how the high priesthood was being run. But he left Seleucus Philippine, Seleucus IV, whose surname was Philippine. One of our people left him with the impression that we had money overflowing. So he decided to tax it. Now I'm going to show you. Are you there? You can start reading. Chapter 3, yeah.
2 Maccabees chapter 3 and verse 1.
It's a lot. So I'm going to we're just going to maneuver and get to the actual points. Go ahead.
Now when the holy city was inhabited with all peace, and the laws were kept very well, because of the godliness of Onias the high priest.
Onias was one of the high priests who made the point, even during the time when we were catching hell we got caught in the middle of conflicts between the Greeks in the south in the Egyptian or the Ptolemaic dynasty and the Greeks in the north with the Seleucid dynasty. This was one of the priests who kept Israel upright during that. Go ahead.
And his hatred of wickedness. It came to pass that even the kings themselves did honor the place and magnify the temple with their best gifts.
Now when it said the kings did honor the place, listen, this going to go into this later on in Daniel chapter 11. It talks about agreements and peace that we had with the Greeks. In other words, literally, they were giving gifts to decorate the temple. And it started with Alexander. Go ahead.
And magnify the temple with their best gifts.
Go ahead.
Insomuch that Seleucus, king of Asia,
in other words, it's talking about Seleucus IV, Philippine. Go ahead.
Of his own revenues, bear all the costs belonging to the service of the sacrifice.
In other words, the daily sacrifices and all the, how can I put it, all of the things that pertain to the officiating of the ceremonies of the temple, this king was paying for it. Now what would happen?
Verse 4, but one Simon of the tribe of Benjamin,
there was an Israelite named Simon who was of the tribe of Benjamin, go ahead,
who was made governor of the temple, fell out with the high priest about the disorder in the city.
In other words, this Simon actually was a governor of the temple. He was in charge of the overall operation. He didn't like the way things were being done in the city, which basically for the most part wasn't any of his jurisdiction. Go ahead.
Verse 5. And when he could not overcome Onias.
In other words, he couldn't now we just read in verse 1, Onias was known for his uprightness and his hatred for wickedness. So it was obviously some stuff that Simon wanted to do that was against the law. Now it said when he couldn't overcome, in other words, he couldn't prevail or influence the high priest Onias, go ahead.
He got him to Apollonius, the son of Thrasius, who then was governor of Seleucia and fed Phoenice.
Right, Seleucia is also sold Syria. And Phoenix, go ahead.
Verse 6.
Now in other words, this Apollonius was actually a high official under the king Seleucus. So Simon, this Israelite, is going to tell an official of Seleucus that we got money that we don't got. Go ahead. Verse 6.
Verse 6. And told him that the treasury in Jerusalem was full of infinite sums of money.
Was full of what?
Infinite sums of money.
Infinite means there was no end to it. Remember, this was the king that was giving money. So now he was trying to leave the king with the impression that the king was sending money that didn't need to be sent. Go ahead.
So that the multitude of their riches, which did not pertain to the account of the sacrifice.
In other words, remember the king was sending, as we read in verse 2, the king was sending money so that the sacrifice could continue. So by this report, he was left under the impression that the money that he was sending for the sacrifice was more than enough, and the fact that now what he being used for the sacrifice was so much money. Go ahead.
Was innumerable. and that it was possible to bring